everybody. This is the low budget horror sort of like Q&A and workshop. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Cool. We're gonna go through and introduce ourselves. My name is Shannon Strucci. I am a video essayist and filmmaker. I've made a bunch of like micro budget horror films that I've shown at some festivals around here and that are on YouTube as well. And we're also on a body horror podcast that has a live show tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Graham Edwards. I am a screenwriter and actor, and I dabble in production as well. I've worked with Shannon on a few comedy horror films. Hi,
I'm Joel Ruiz, and if y'all can't hear us, feel free to come scoot your chairs closer. Okay, you come on, scoot on up. I'm a freelance filmmaker. I ran a comedy show in Atlanta for 3 years and produced over 100 comedy shorts with two friends. We just shot a movie last year, and it just got announced. We got into Austin Film Festival for our world premiere, and it's about Bigfoot. I run the body horror comedy podcast that she's on, and we're going to talk about how to make movies. It'll be fun.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Byron. I'm an Atlanta comedian. I'm also on the Body Horror Podcast, and I've never actually seen a movie, so this is going to be kind of fun for me.
Okay, so the way we sort of planned this was to mostly do a Q&A if people have specific questions about filmmaking. We can also just talk about stuff, but I feel like it's better because there's so much to it. If y'all have specific questions about like props, our equipment, our rights usage for different stuff, if anyone, you could come up here and use the mic if you wanted, or just yell stuff out. Or if nobody has questions, we can just talk. But if anybody wanted to raise their hand, if they had any. If you wanted to come up.
Yeah, sorry, there's some sound.
And then if you want, you can tell us your name too.
Hi friends, I'm Jess. I have a question. Me and my husband are thinking about starting to make some low-budget horror movies, and we have a lot of trouble with our Steadicam. Do you guys use Steadicam, and how do you like get used to it and make it do the thing? How would you describe it? It has weights. It's like a pole with like weights on it, and the camera sits on top, and it has a little bike handle. Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm screwing this up so bad. But yeah, you're fine. But it's like, it's a pole with like a bike handle on the bottom, and it has weights that stabilize it, and it swings. But we haven't got the thing to do the thing yet.
It's definitely a Joel.
Is it like a DIY rig you guys made? Okay, so honestly, it's just like a lot of practice. They first of all, this is just like a general thing, like start like actually lifting weights and like figuring out how to make your shoulder and forearm stronger, because you're gonna die using it longer than a minute. It's terrible. They're very heavy. Like there's $5,000 assist units that they have for those things because of how difficult they are. But honestly, like a big thing is just practice. And I understand. So if you're trying to do it for horror, you don't want to you have so limited takes on special effects and stuff like that. So really just like film yourself walking around the house, like do stuff like, film yourself going to get the mail, follow your wife, around the yard and just get used to it. But it really is like those things can, yeah.
Any kind of camera rig or any kind of equipment. It's just practice, I think.
But yeah, like I said, just get as used to it as you can. You doing really mundane stuff. So whenever you're on set and you got that one shot, you can only do it once because you only got a squib, budget for 2 shots, kind of thing. Just like it really is just kind of and also like I said, just like actually start to work out because it is just so much physical work. Is there any other questions?
What did you say? I can't hear.
He was asking what kind of like lighting for like atmospheric horror.
That's another thing you just kind of have to experiment with, and it's also like lighting for atmospheric horror. It's like a giallo film looks super different from something like Paranormal Activity. If you're going something more realistic, it's gonna look really different. I mean, I would just like buy some cheap lights and gels and like experiment with it a whole lot, and also try to get really comfortable with different camera settings like ISO and the aperture and all that kind of stuff, and kind of understand what it all means and what it does. which is a lot. I don't like running camera. I'm mostly an editor, so I try to get other people to do it because I don't want to deal with it. But it's a lot of just have fun experimenting with moody lighting and stuff, especially if you're doing low budget horror. You have a lot more room to experiment. Honestly, for some stuff we've done, we just get like shop lights at Walmart and put gels on them. That's not gonna look the best, but kind of like work with what you have, I guess.
And so for a good example, like I'm a full-time freelance film editor and filmmaker right now. I take a lot of crappy gigs, obviously, but like I am self-taught, and so a lot of those things you can learn. It's just like a lot of practice. And one suggestion I have, like I said, I spent the last 3 years making a bunch of comedy shorts and really honed my skill over that. And just because I was just producing a lot of stuff and getting that rhythm, so like things that you're having kind of a difficulty with, write a small short that you really have to play around with that. Like do something like that to where it's not as a big of a stake thing. And even if it's just something between the two of you where you can kind of do that, like it really does get like just the only way to do a lot of stuff like that without having a friend that can just be like, oh, this is how you do it. Let me walk you through it. Like you just got to do a lot of trial and error.
Because like if you do it enough, if you do it for enough hours, it's almost like muscle memory or it becomes more intuitive. That's like any part of it, editing or anything like that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, just talking about lighting, especially with these Steadicam shots, I mean, kind of in the same way of practice as before you actually start shooting, like, just, film a few trial runs through whatever you're thinking of moving around to be shooting and just see what the lighting looks like then. Try having people, in front of it so you can see is there shadows on their faces. But before maybe you actually even start doing the takes, it's a lot of just practice and just experimenting with the lights, seeing like, okay, this doesn't look good at this point, should we add some, should we subtract? And yeah, it's just a ton of trial and error with stuff like that, but yeah, worth doing.
I'm sorry also because I know how infuriating these answers are. Because I've asked similar questions and then people are like, oh, it's just time and difficulty.
Don't let them fool you, folks. There are definitely easy answers that we have in our pockets that we're not going to give to you.
Well, it's like any film, especially if you're watching something in theaters, these are people who've probably been doing this for like 10 years. Even before someone's in their 30s and they make their first feature, they've been doing it since they were, a lot of people have been doing it since they were teenagers. So really try not to get discouraged if it doesn't look great at first. It's just like you just gotta keep trying. Anybody else have a question? Oh, Kevin?
Okay. So if somebody were... My name is Kevin. If somebody were looking to start making super low-budget horror films, where would you recommend they start purchasing equipment, knowing they don't have a lot of money to get maybe everything that's out there or even high-end versions of things? What would you recommend prioritizing for somebody who is interested in doing that?
Spend more time on lighting and sound than you think you'll need to. Like, please turn off the air conditioning, unplug the fridge, do like really basic stuff, even if you have really cheap equipment. Like I said, Walmart, shop lights, stuff like that. Put time in, because you have time, hopefully, to take care of all that stuff, even if you don't have the best equipment. I mean, stuff we've shot on like a $300 DSLR, I'm proud of,
I'll say this, so 100% sound is the most important thing. Like you can get away with crappy picture, you can get away with like some poor edits, but like sound is so much of what a movie and a film is, and the atmosphere that can be built around sound, you can also use that to an advantage of like if you have like a crappy DSLR or you like some of the lighting kind of screwed up, you can lean into the more DIY like horror aspect of the low budget, but you really have to sell the sound design with that, because that like people paint a lot of pictures in their head with that. So honestly, as far as like what you look into first, if like, so say that you're trying to just produce like a short film and so like a feature, and you just kind of want to figure out what you're trying to figure out first, find someone that can help you with the sound, both like for recording and in post. It's really is the biggest part. It's not that I thought that sound wasn't important, but it took me a long time to realize that sound is super important. And if you're gonna like have one thing you don't cut any corners on, like or as much as you can put into it, sound, especially for horror, is a huge deal.
And I would say too, I've seen, because I've been to a lot of like horror festivals and whatever, I've seen short horror films that you can tell they had a very expensive camera and they have good actors, but the aperture's set on auto, so the lighting keeps changing in it, and they didn't really know what they were doing, which is like the amount of light coming into the camera. It's like when you have your cell phone recording video and you like move it to a brighter spot, it suddenly gets darker. Like you want to be in control of that. Or like you can hear the air conditioning in the background and it's like zzzz, and you can hear the cuts in it. That's very distracting. It seems very unprofessional. That stuff is like free to fix if you have the equipment. You just have to put more time in. Stuff like that.
I guess the takeaway here is that they're talkies, not movies.
Always get a guy on set that will. Sorry, I was just making fun of. Always get somebody on set that will interrupt you, but will make you laugh, so you're not mad at them. Get a Paul. No. So also, like I said, I think a big thing about it too is like just find other people that are interested and on the same level. Whenever you're trying to first get started, because you can try to figure out how to do a lot of like just like one person setup or things like that. But like there's definitely somebody else at the same level as you that also has the same frustrations and wishes that somebody would be helping them. And it will take you a lot of time and trial and error. But like it is just kind of worth trying to reach outside of yourself. And then also you can find because Shannon and I met because, like I said, the live show I used to run, it was a comedy show where I made 2 to 3 shorts with some friends every month. And then there was a short film like contest aspect. I met Shannon through it and Graham because like they started to submit. And then like years later, Shannon and I now run this podcast together and have worked on things and stuff like that. And you will meet a lot of terrible people. Creative people are the worst.
Yeah.
It's not worth working with someone just because they have nice equipment if they're a terrible person. I've known people who learned that the hard way. It was not necessarily my decision on sets like that. You do not have to put up with someone being rude or hateful. I don't care what they've worked on. That he shot a Coke commercial. It's like, well, he's ruining the entire shoot. I don't care what he shot. Also, as general advice, spend a lot of time on pre-production, like more than you think you would. Like learn what a shot list is. You need to have an idea of like everything you're gonna shoot meticulously because that will save you so much time. And like be organized with your footage. Get a slate, and like that'll save you a lot of time in the edit as well. Because like I said, even if you don't have money and you don't have expertise, if you put a lot of time in and a lot of work in, you can make something that's worth watching.
Oh, also on the point of meeting people and working with people, delegating is very important. If you find people on the same level as you who just want to work on projects with you for free, because they're developing their craft as well. If you're assigning someone the duty of being your audio recorder, let them have that sphere. Let them work in that and, bring their own attention to that. You don't want to have to be doing everything at the same time. So really learning to trust people in that way and like letting them carry their work through is a pretty good thing to do, I think.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that. Also, I'm not saying to take every piece of advice that somebody with more experience gives you, but if somebody tells you something, like a suggestion or a criticism about your film or your short or idea, and you get really pissed at them and think that they are dumb and that there's things they're saying are stupid, it probably means they're right and you hate them for it. Because I did that. The first thing I ever made was a very terrible web series that I shot 5 episodes, took a break, shot 5 more episodes, had somebody tell me everything that was wrong about the first 5 episodes, and I was like, well, he doesn't understand my art. Then I made 5 even worse episodes. Watched all 10 together and was very mad that this person was right. So like it's like a weird thing whenever you're first starting out that you gotta get over yourself a lot. You're gonna screw up. You're not gonna, like Shannon was saying, like a lot of people, that's a lot of expertise. What you see, like on big features and like film festivals, circuits, and stuff like that. Those are people that have screwed up a lot. Like a good thing that I've done before is like whoever your favorite filmmaker is, if you're feeling discouraged, Google their early films. Go find what they did in college and high school or like with their friends that sucks, because it will suck. Nobody is good to start. Everybody that you see and admire, the whole like 10,000 hours kind of deal. So like just kind of don't get down on yourself, but also like get over yourself, go to therapy.
also on that point, like maybe on your first film, don't take like the director role or something like that. The first film I made, I wrote and directed it, and I had no experience in it. Like I could have done maybe just the writing, but I wish I had just let someone else direct so I could watch them. Like talking about this, like meeting people and kind of networking and like working, doing small parts. Like there's so much that you can just pick up on set working with people. So you might be doing something, smaller, just doing production assistant stuff. But you can be watching the director and the actors and everybody involved, and you learn so much just from being on set on top of like watching a film. And even if you're just shadowing and taking a small role, there's a whole lot to be gained from that. So if you get presented with opportunities like that, it might not be the thing that you're most passionate about as far as a project goes, but getting that experience is really important and can be really helpful.
Even with stuff just like having an idea of how long a shot will take to shoot. People who've never made a movie always get it wrong. It's like, this will take a couple hours. It's like, no, that's going to take a day. You're going to waste a day. You're going to waste everybody's time. It's like being on set and sort of understanding protocol and understanding how to do stuff efficiently will save you so much time. Instead of just like, I'm going to make a movie, but I'm not going to really spend any time on it going in. It's going to be a disaster. Not to be discouraging.
No, let's be a little discouraging. Don't do it badly. Go take the moment. That's true of all creative endeavors, right? Like you cannot just throw yourself at it and be like, it's going to be fine. No, like there is always work. It is always something you have to spend more time on than you're hoping for. Because, only I have that, and I don't have any talent at all.
And another thing too, as because I think a lot of it starts, most people that are trying to do indie stuff, you want to try to write it, you want to start it from the ground up. When you're writing stuff, your first draft, don't, try to just enjoy it and go that. But like as you refine it, you are going to have to realize you're going to have to cut stuff for budgetary things. So if you're doing something, so as I said, for like an example for the two of you, like you're trying to get better with lighting and using the Steadicam and stuff like that. And so say you're trying to like write a short around that and stuff like that. It's not bad to write around budgetary constraints and what you can and can't do. And sometimes if you think we can like maybe cheat it and people won't notice, try to see if you can cut that scene. Like if there's something that like you really just can't do to the fullest and it's just kind of a side thing and not the main focus of the short, like just no one else is going to be upset if you're working within your limits, because if you work within your limits, you have a better job at making a product that's actually going to get some notice, even if it's on a smaller thing. But then if you're like, if we do like, one big stunt, what if we did like 5 stunts? No one's going to be like, at least they did 5, even though they were all pretty adequate. But like somebody will be like, holy shit, like it's a 10-minute short that leads up to like one really epic shot. Like just kind of keep that in kind of idea, because you might get into filmmaking and hate it and want to quit, and that is fine. But if you enjoy it, whatever film you're making is not your last film. Whatever project you're working on is not your last project. You can always get better and improve. Like I said, like I made some very terrible stuff, and now I'm very happy with things that I have made.
I think a lot of the time doing conventions like this, people are so terrified of failing or of not being good, or they want their first project to look like the best movie ever. It's like we were talking about, you're going to suck. You have to sort of be willing to take criticism. I have a YouTube channel, so I get criticism all the time, and it's very vicious. But some of it I should have listened to when I started. Like people told me all the time I talk too fast in my videos. I was like, I want to talk fast, and I look back, I was like, that's embarrassing. I don't like that anymore. Yeah. So it's sort of, you have to be open to criticism and to failure, because through that's how you improve, and it's healthy, and you can't be scared of it. Because even if like a short is a failure, you can still learn something from it and still have fun with it. It's not the end of the world. No one has to see it. Like, I don't know. And it might be really good, and you can be proud of it and have fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. What I said about, go in and about not wanting to direct your first film, actually, just go in and do that. And if it's not that great, that is a normal part of the growing process. And there's probably going to be something you like about a film that's not very good also, though. And I think, learning from your mistakes is great. And also, try to start learning what your strengths are. Even if it's not that great of a film, you probably did a few things really well. And yeah, that's also important to learn from.
I do agree with Graham, but I'm also going to contradict it a little bit, because that also works. You can do like write it, direct it, star in it. But I will say, you will take a lot longer to get good at any one of those things if you keep doing multiple things opposed to focusing on one thing at a time. I've done a lot of projects where like I try to be in front and behind the camera, and I try to direct, and I try to do that. And then I've done projects where like I just directed it. Like I wrote it. Looks like I wrote it for like, the pre-production work. I shot it on set, and then I edited it. And like that allowed me to get like a lot more skills as a director opposed to trying to like, like act in it, direct it. I'm also like, referring to like operating the camera and directing. If you have that luxury of having somebody to be a cam operator and you can focus on directing, it is very rare in low budget films. Most of the things that I direct, I also am the camera operator. But I'm just trying to say, like, yes, Graham is right. Like, if don't be scared, but like, if you want to be a director, try to see if you can get people to fill as many other roles as you can so you can focus on that one skill. Because it really, and then, it also helps you kind of see what the different roles are. And like going back to what Graham was saying, like taking some jobs or, gigs, whether paid or just, volunteer and helping and stuff out. Like if you're a PA, that's a crappy gig. It sucks. Tell them what you're interested in like the field, and they'll start to put you with people to where, instead of getting an actor's coffee because you don't want to be an actor, you want to be the director, you get the director's coffee. Yes, you're still running meaningless errands, but you can sit there and watch the director and see what they're doing. You can sit there with the camera crew, and it really is just kind of figuring out what you want to do. And like, it really just is a terrible thing. Like, once again, it's a really infuriating answer, but it's like, it just boils down to a lot of time and stuff like that. But like I said, just be really honest with yourself on like, if you want, what kind of thing you want to focus on, and try to focus on that to start.
Yeah, and I honestly agree with Joel. I mean, like I said, like, if you want to get in there and like direct, like you're just going to fail at things, but so you can do that, and you're probably not going to do it very well if you're wearing all the hats. But hey, you can fail at a lot of things that way, and maybe you'll learn some lessons from that. I also, wearing a bunch of hats, like, you have to be really cognizant of time when you're on set. Lighting's going to change due to the change in the time of day and stuff like that. Also, you can only have everybody there for a certain amount of time. That's very important. Also, your energy level is very important. So if you're wearing a bunch of different hats, like, you're going to spread yourself really thin, really quickly. And like, if you're shooting for 10 hours that day, those last few hours, you're not going to be very good. Like, you're not going to be giving very good directions. You're not going to be working with people very well. Like, you got to be, when you're setting up shots and stuff like that, when you're thinking of like what days you're shooting on, maybe spread it out over some time instead of trying to do it all in one day. Like, you really have to be aware of your resources, which just can include yourself and how much energy you can bring to a project.
And I will say, like, even if you can't pay people, give people food, have like pizza, have coffees, donuts, stuff like that. Little things like that show that you care about the people who are coming on and working for free will make a big difference. One time I was promised food on a set and I didn't get it, and I got very upset. I was very hungry after like a 14-hour shoot. I was like, I don't want to work with them anymore. What's up?
Hi, I'm Shelby. What are good ways to... oh my God. Graham, you don't look as interested in what I'm about to say. Okay, it's okay. No, I do want everybody to lean in. I just want everybody to be paying attention to me real quick. Okay, so what are good ways to find people to work with and find projects to work with and network? Like, what's the best way to kind of break into that?
So I've done short films in Athens and Atlanta, Georgia. And Athens is a college town, so there are a ton of like college film clubs, and there's a very small local film scene where you can go to like little events, and it's a very tight-knit community. And then the way that I met people in Atlanta, like Joel was talking about, is I started going to a lot of comedy shows, and then like comedians usually want to write. They like attention, so they want to be in films and stuff like that. But I mean, Atlanta's a really big city for film, so it's a little easier there. But anywhere where there's like, even at an event like this, you could meet people, or any kind of film event or film screenings or film festivals. You might have to travel for some of it, but just go up to people and talk to people. And if you kind of connect, then it's easy to work with each other. Like me and Graham met this woman named Michelle at conventions in the Carolinas, and we just acted in her movie because we got along. We just like really liked each other, and it worked out. So
Yeah, traveling to conventions and fests, definitely worth it for just those networking opportunities. Yeah, also like Shannon said, stand-up comedians are free labor, so they will, they'll do pretty much it. Yeah, they really need to be in anything, so that's a great resource you can exploit. But yeah, I mean, like, even if you're just making like a small film that maybe even has like a handful of actors in it, it's pretty small, like, make something small like that and then try to submit it in a fest, and like you'll meet more people that way. Like, you might have to start out kind of small to like kind of get into those networking opportunities, but yeah, I think those are normally one of the best ones. Craigslist even, I mean, it's not, boy, you're rolling the dice there, but if you're really limited, you can try that.
Yeah, just for like 2 likes a day on Facebook, you can get a comic to do anything you want. That you can give them the self-esteem that their parents didn't give them. No, but like it really is just like a lot of trial and error. But I just want to cycle back and remind everyone what Shane was talking about. If you work with somebody and you find out that they're shitty, like, just drop them.
Yeah.
Like, cause I have definitely I waited around on a few projects. I was like, oh, this might lead to something, but like it's never gonna be a good outcome. But also, don't let that make you think that like if you meet a few shitty people in a row, or like try to work with some people that are flaky and stuff like that, it's not that everybody, what do you think? What are you doing? You keep trying to move my drink. I didn't bring a beverage up here for you to move it, Paul. See, I gave this comic attention and he put it back.
I just want to say that, yeah, I definitely came up here to Nashville for attention, and I'm not being paid. Wherever. See, I don't even know where we are. They put me in the trunk of the car. They said there's going to be attention there. Yeah. No, absolutely. Comedians are chumps. Like, we definitely are hungry for attention. We do want stuff to do, though. Like, we want to be in shows. We want to be in things and get to do whatever the hell it is that we do. And we are more than happy to do that in a bunch of weird cake makeup or with our arm cut off or whatever. And I think the horror comedy crossover is very easy, right? Like, it's a very straightforward, not taking seriously the very serious and horrible things in the world. So they're definitely, they'll be there for that, What do you guys think about making sure you're thinking about the audience, right? Like, because a lot of projects I find that I've worked on, like live shows, among other things, right, where you are in the driver's seat of it and you are on the production manufacturing side, you just forget what's happening over there. Like, what is the audience actually going to experience when I show them this? And I think that is something, like, that's definitely something that I need brought in when I do a show or a production of any kind. Like, hey, will someone tell me what this actually looks like? Because I'm over here doing it, and it seems awesome to me, but what will they think? And I don't know if that's something you guys have a lot of,
You have to have a director that you trust, I think, or someone who will tell you if what you're doing doesn't look good or doesn't, like, you need to have, on set, you need to have some level of honest communication. I think that's very important, because you don't want someone to just let you do something and then it looks terrible, or if an effect doesn't look good, you have to find people who aren't mean or whatever, but will be direct and be like, okay, let's try this, or like, this isn't really working. And especially, like, I'm primarily an editor, so all I think about is what the cut's gonna be like, how am I gonna sort through this footage, and I guess a lot of that just comes with experience as well. But it's like learning to trust people, or find people you can trust who will tell you, like, this isn't gonna look, I know you're having fun, but like, you can't do,
Another thing to help with that, to go back with earlier, pre-production. If you get a shot list, you you are building what, like, you're putting down what you see in your head for the movie. And that makes it to where not only is it gonna be easier on set, but like other people can see your vision, and then you have somebody, like if you have a script supervisor, which once again, very rare, hard to have kind of thing, but like, it's just kind of like that helps you when you're going on to set to think like, this is what we want to look like at the end of the day, and you're already in more of the mindset of like seeing the final product, opposed to just being like, cool, we marked off a line, because you're just, and because that way you're just, actually taking the time to make sure your final product is the best. And then another thing is, what Graham was talking about, like the scheduling and stuff like that. I think to get a best like end result for the audience is you always want to add buffer time into anything. If you're working on a shot list and you're like, cool, this shot will take 5 minutes, mark it 8.
Take 20 minutes.
What's what I'm saying? Like, what I'm saying, like up everything a little bit, you know, and then build yourself in buffer time because everything's gonna take longer. Some shots might go off super fast without a hitch, but like your weight calibration can be off just slightly, and it's gonna take 20 minutes extra to do that, and that pushes that thing back. But like, it really is. Thinking about the audience and thinking about the final product really boils down to having good pre-production and making sure you get the best use of your time, you get the best use of your actors, you're doing high energy scenes early in the day so they can be high energy. They're not expelling everything, because if you're trying to do the climax scene after a 10-hour day at the very end of the night, no one's gonna care. You do that in the morning, and then you do the shots at night when it's just them reading the paper, so you get your establishing shot, like, you know, time and date kind of stuff like that. And that really boils down to, just like I said, like the end result, because you're just putting the most time and thought into it and actually caring about the project. And it also, once again, goes to like the varying levels of the project. If you have a project, once again, to reference y'all, that you're just trying to get, you know, like camera work better and stuff like that, you don't have to care about as much as the audience, because that's not for them. That you might put it up on a YouTube channel or post it on Twitter, just be like, hey, we're screwing around with the Steadicam, getting better, but like that's not about making a great final product. That's about enhancing your skills. So you also kind of have to figure out which projects are the ones you want to really put the pre-production into to actually care about the audience in the end. Also, what time is it? Do we need? Are we good? Okay, that's one.
Graham, do you have any strong opinions about audiences?
Geez. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is the pre-production and knowing like what you can make, and also kind of writing around that is kind of my experience, as we discussed before. Like, you know, you just have to learn what resources you have, and kind of writing within that budget, I think, is a great way to, you don't want to ask your audience to have to use their imagination or anything like that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, you don't want, yeah.
Like, you don't want like a pity audience that like pities you and is like, oh, it's what do you?
Yeah, or just like something where the audience can be like, oh, I can see what they were going for there, but they didn't reach that. Like, you just kind of learning when you're stretching yourself too thin, and addressing that in the writing process is normally something that I think is a good idea. That's probably not too helpful. I wish I didn't answer this question.
Yeah, I think your answer was don't do a bad job.
It's like
That's not a good job.
it's don't, for your first thing you ever make, don't make it like, oh, it's gonna have a bunch of CGI and we're gonna do this, and like you're talking about have a whole bunch of stunts. Don't limit yourself necessarily. Always be pushing yourself, but sometimes you can see something that's like, oh, this would have been good if they had more than $5 when they made it. Like, this doesn't. They're trying something very serious, or to be very scary, and then obviously it's just not there. Versus, oh, they could have done something. Like, I've seen a lot of really amazing low budget horror films that get by, you know, because they spent a lot of time planning it and kind of knew what their limits were, I guess.
So this is kind of like a new type. We're kind of within that of like finding people. So, and I will point this out. Yes, we are a panel of white people. But like, take the time to try to find more diverse and like unique and different voices from yourself. Like, it is like, once again, I understand where this is coming from.
I mean, I'm wearing a suit.
That's not the good kind of, yeah. You're literally just saying like, well, you can get somebody that's higher class than you. That's diversity, right? Just shoot up. Tell their stories. People want to hear about the mountaintops, not the climb up. No. Anyways, kill the rich. You want to know it because you want to try to do that. Like, it is hard. I will like say from firsthand experience. Like, I came from a background of stand-up comedy in the Southeast. 80% of people that I know that do comedy are white dudes. Like, there's so many bearded flannel people that I know, and it's, you know, like there are other people out there, and but it's not a thing of like diversity just for like to be diverse. Like, it's gonna give you a better story. It's gonna give you more like connections with people to work with. It's gonna give you new perspectives. It's gonna give you better notes. It's gonna give you different ideas that you wouldn't have thought of just because it's not part of your experience. And there really is such an edge to having an actually well-rounded and diverse cast. And I'm not trying to say go and check off a box and get like everybody of every nationality or sexual orientation you can, but like if you find yourself constantly only working with people that look and like think exactly like you, your shit is never gonna it's gonna hit a ceiling. But if you start to work with other people and allow other people to have like their ideas heard and like kind of like put into their also working on their projects with them, not even just saying that they, you know, only be diverse whenever it's like benefiting you, like go work on other people's shit, see how they do it, because not only will you get to like work with and network and new people and stuff like that, you really do just get a better end product, because there's just people are a product of like their past and their surroundings and stuff like that, and they have unique voices that like will strengthen anything if you give them an opportunity. I think that really is, once again, I understand we're 4 white people up here trying to say this, but like it really is a huge thing that will help your work if you take the time to go out and find other people to like, you know, help prop them up and also have them help prop you up and stuff like that. It really will give a better end product.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Joel, I mean, like, you know, having diverse characters always helps a work. You know, and like, yeah, sure, like we bring up that we're all white people here and we're suggesting like, but different ages, you know? I mean, there's so many amateur films where like every character is the same age, and like that's just not the real world, and it's not that interesting. And I think we struggle with that sometimes too, is like a lot of times we'll write an older character into one of our scripts and then we're like, all right, which of our moms are we going to get for, and then we're too embarrassed to like ask our moms. And like, that's a real weakness of ours, but like that really helps a script, is like having different characters who aren't just, you know, your same age and just like you and like just your buddies. Like really doing that networking and like finding people who are different than you is going to really enhance your script, and that's going to really enhance your film. But filling those roles sometimes can be hard, so get outside your comfort zone and, you know, meet people who aren't just like you.
I want to add something to that too. Like, don't be afraid. It's gonna sound weird if you don't like approach somebody. You're like, hey, I like your work. I don't work with anyone that's not white. It's gonna sound weird if you try to skirt around it and try to make it not sound like you're trying to like expand yourself. You can be honest with people about things and make it not like be awkward and terrible. Because I like when doing like the comedy show and stuff like that, we ran into a lot of stuff like that, like casting older people, casting people of like different ethnicities, casting people that like, you know, oh, I want someone that could speak Spanish, but like I want to sound like they can speak Spanish. Like I had to like once cast a role of like an older landlord lady who we wanted her to be fluent. It was for like a sizzle reel I shot for a pilot we're trying to sell, where we needed like an older landlord Hispanic woman to like be fluent in both like English and Spanish and be able to go back and forth. And so like it took us time and like reaching out way outside of our circles to find her and stuff like that. And like, but we were honest about it. And so don't feel weird about it, because it is kind of like a weird thing to approach, but it's also like people will react to your honesty of just saying like, hey, I only have white friends to work with. I would like to expand who I work with and stuff like that. And no one's gonna, you know, don't mention it past that. Don't make it weird. But I'm saying like, it is like a weird, but just don't feel bad about it. Because like the only thing that's bad is if you're like, oh, I only work with white people. Well, let's not change that and move on. That's the bad thing.
That was a character. We don't do that in passers-by.
Oh no. Like I was gonna go to this panel, but I am not about it.
I agree with everything else said on that. I don't really have much to add, I guess.
Well, I want to ask you a question to prompt, and you can say this. No, if you can talk about just kind of what being a woman in filmmaking is like, and it's up to you. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff, especially in the indie coming up scene, that like both good and bad.
Mostly bad. To be blunt about it, like, I've had a lot of bad experiences on indie sets. I went to film school. I got sexually harassed by a coworker and a professor. Everyone I know, every woman I've known in this, it's like it's difficult for everybody. It's especially difficult, like class is also a big problem. Like I knew people in school who could afford to go to LA and do internships and whatever who are way further ahead of me in the career. It's like, well, I grew up poor. I'm sorry. Like I can't, you know. So there are certain barriers that are going to be there. And it really, really sucks because it does keep so many people who have like great stories to tell out of film, you know. Like if I had had a kid when I was younger, or if I had other, like there's so many different things that I wouldn't be, like I have a very supportive family who's helped me a lot too. It's like on top of being a woman, on top of being this, on top of being that. But you have, like there are so many people there who will want, like regardless of who you are, who will like see something in you and want to help you. You have to find like mentor figures, whether it's at conventions or in your local film scene or whatever. There's always going to be somebody who, will like have your back and will help you and you can work with them. I think there is a positive aspect to it, but I think there are a lot of things that can make it harder. Like I said, if you don't have like I don't come from like a famous filmmaking family, obviously none of us do, like, so we all had to start from the bottom. Some people just get to skip a whole bunch of steps, and that's just how it is, I guess. And it's sort of like I talking about having more diverse people in your films. Not only does it improve your film, but it's also like you're trying to help in some small way to ameliorate that and try to make it better. Because a lot of dudes who are in like on the internet or in film have taken a risk on me, who have way more of an audience than me, and I've always really appreciated it because it's helped me a lot. And it's like I see that and I want to pass that on to other people or try to help people or whatever. So I wanted to ask because we have about 10 minutes left. Does anyone have more like horror specific questions? Because we've just been talking about low budget filmmaking generally for most of it, but we are at a horror convention with creepy in the name. So I wanted to see if anyone had any. And if y'all don't, that's fine too. We can just keep talking. But timing, like the edit, like pacing. I think they're very similar, actually. Comedy and horror, timing and pacing. As an editor, there's a lot in common. Or it's like you watch a horror film and it's like someone opens the fridge and it takes up the whole frame. It's like, oh, I wonder if something's going to be there. When I think a lot of that is watching a lot of film, like even more than you do now. Maybe like taking notes, watching like commentary tracks, watching behind the scenes stuff. There's a really good book called In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch. He's like a really well-known editor, and it's a book on editing theory and pacing and kind of like how we as humans view movies, and it's really short, and I highly recommend that to kind of learn that. And a lot of it, like we talked about too, is through experience. You shoot something, oh, this didn't work, well, why didn't it work? And being able to critique yourself and improve off of that.
And also, like, don't be afraid to take inspiration and watch other stuff. And it's just like, if there's like a scene that really like sticks with you, like, go rewatch it, dissect it, like figure out what they did, why you like it, what is making your like the hair on the back of your neck stand up, what is like driving you to do that, and then just try to emulate that. You're not, because like there's a difference between being inspired and stealing. Like you can like you can pull inspiration from a lot of stuff and then kind of make your own, and then also like give yourself to play around the edit. I love editing, and I do mainly comedy. I've moved a bit more into like horror stuff with the audio podcast we do. So it's it's not video editing, it's still audio editing, but like I didn't realize like how, like Shannon was saying, like comedy and horror kind of translate, because it's a lot about setting everything up and like waiting. And a lot of it's about like, define expectations. You got a jump scare, you're going to set up the jump scare. Everyone knows the jump scare. Sure, you can do the jump scare, or maybe don't give them the jump scare. Set up the jump scare. Don't give them the jump scare though. Like just don't give that to them. Like do long, slow build-ups to things like that. Do quick things. I'm just saying, like, no one way is perfect, and it's really about you finding your own like style and what kind of stuff you like about that. But I think for that though, it really is like, it's not just a time, but like play with it, enjoy it. You can make one timeline, edit it, and then if you get an idea of like, oh, you know what? Maybe if I tweak this, it can be a different thing. Go do that. Like just push yourself to keep trying new things, because that's how you're going to get better. And like, you know, if you figured out how to master like one kind of scare that you're enjoying, stop doing that scare for a while and like figure out something else. But I really think though the best part about it, and especially editing, what makes an editor really good is like the passion behind it. Like if you are just trying to connect the dots, sure, you're going to get there at the end, but to get the really good shit where you're just going to be like, oh, I cannot stop thinking about that scene, like you need to just really allow yourself just a full playground of it. And it goes back to like, have somebody that's a sounding board, you know, because eventually you're going to hit a wall when you watch the same scene over and over and over again, and it's going to lose everything that you've seen in it. So then get somebody fresh. You know, you can get, you know, your partner to come in, other people in the film. If you just have friends that aren't movie buffs, those are actually sometimes really good opinions, because you're not necessarily trying to find out, like, what would you do in this edit? It's just kind of like, cool. Watch this. I'm going to tell you nothing about it going ahead, and just watch their peer reaction. But like a lot of it really is, it's just like let yourself like have fun with the play things. And I think it kind of goes back to, you know, set yourself up some different scares that you want to try to get better at. And then once again, going back to score, like the timing and music, you can do so much if you build up. There's like, weirdly enough, go watch videos on Pixar. They have a lot of stuff about like sound design and scoring that is insanely just so in depth and so on spot. Like one of the things I love is like using a music cue for one character every time something happens to them, whether it's good, bad, sad, and stuff like that. You hear the same song every time it's like a high emotional point for them, and it intensifies every time you hear it. So even if it's just like a happy little stinger, it happens every time. Like when something horrifying happens in the end, that song brings back all the happy memories you had with that character, and so you understand their highs and lows all at once because of what you're doing with the scoring. So that really is like such a big thing to play around with.
Well, it's time to give us a wrap up, guys. Big takeaways. They're talkies. Don't do it bad. Hire some olds. Comedians are free labor. Steal from Pixar. And actually take your time, which is the actual piece of advice.
Also, eat the rich.
That's not really filmmaking. You just take that with you into life, but neither case.
Yeah. It's, any. All right. Well, I guess that's it. Yeah. We'll
Hi, I'm Paul Byron, comedian, and I play on the world's greatest and only body horror, teenage superhero, corn dog obsessed actual play podcast. It's also comedy. It's called Critical Bits. We have a live show tomorrow at like, what, 2? 1. Scheduling. We'll figure it out.
I'm Joel Ruiz. I run that comedy podcast. We have a booth downstairs. It says Shannon Strucci on it. We have some buttons. We have some, if you guys want to die, if you guys like role-playing games, and you want to play a game where a giant spider kills you, and then that giant spider is then killed by a second larger spider, we have free copies of that. And yeah, check us out at Critical Bitcast, and also you can go to our website, criticalbitcast.com. And the movie that I just made with two friends, Vice's Guide to Hunting Bigfoot, is going to premiere at Austin Film Festival, and we'll be around Circuit, so you can go look for that.
Hi, I'm Graham Edwards again. I love you. There's a film I'm in, what we're reading today, that actually just screened. So I'm not on anything else for the rest of this convention. I will be wandering around. I think the VR stuff here looks pretty neat, so I'll be checking that out.
It's at noon. Our show tomorrow is at noon. I'm Shannon Strucci. I have a YouTube channel, StrucciMovies. I have a feature-length documentary on there. I have some short comedy and horror films on there, and I'm also on the Actual Play podcast, which we're doing tomorrow. The show at noon is Halloween in Heavendale. We're going to do like a fun, weird body horror comedy show. Much less educational and much less serious than this, but, you know, you get the full circle.
We didn't set a very...
There is definitely no education tomorrow.
But yeah, thank y'all. Oh my gosh. There's so many clowns here. Thank y'all so much for coming. We appreciate it.